Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to my readings of my book, Prejudential, Black America and the Presidents. And if you look below the video, you'll be able to see how you can purchase it for yourself. Today, we're at Chapter 2, our second President of the United States, John Adams. He was from Massachusetts. And of the first 12 presidents, only John Adams and his son, John Quincy Adams, they were the only two who were Northerners and non-slave holding. Sounds good. But John Adams was not without his own biases, many biases against Black people. He was very much in favor of white people and the privileges they enjoyed at that time. And he feared Black people and he feared the prospect of them being free. He took part in the shameful libel of a man named Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks, for those of you who don't know, was the first man to fall in the Boston Massacre in 1770 and was a Black man. Adams defended the British soldiers who fired into the crowd. And Adams' defense strategy included blaming Attucks, quote, to whose mad behavior in all probability the dreadful carnage of that night is chiefly to be ascribed. He also represented slaveholders in 4 cases in which people held in slavery sued for their freedom. And he lost 3 of the 4 cases, and he later said, somewhat dismissively, quote, I was concerned in several causes in which Negroes sued for their freedom before the Revolution, unquote. And he felt this great sense of concern about white people in the South. Now, at the time, he was president from 1797 to 1801. There was slavery outside of the South in states like Massachusetts. He was not a slaveholder. He bragged about that fact. But from the beginning, slaveholding was a key part of the Southern economy. So I say that just as a reminder, there was slavery in the North as well. But he always worried about white Southerners. And he said that the condition of the common sort of white people was, quote, more oppressed, degraded, and miserable than that of the Negroes, unquote. And he congratulated himself as a result of not having been a slaveholder, but he didn't think it needed to end. And he made that quite clear. He was terrified of the idea of Black people, whether free or enslaved, rising up violently against white people. And he says the abolition of slavery must be gradual and accomplished with much caution and circumspection. And he pointed out he was always afraid of insurrections among the Blacks to rise against their masters and imbue their hands in innocent blood. There was lots of innocent blood, but it was the other way around. And he spoke up on the behalf of Southerners, and this was a political issue from the start, that the South was accommodated from the very beginning. And like many presidents who came after him, he favored colonization, that is, the forced removal of Black people out of the United States. And he condemned the British, who after the War of 1812, who gave freedom to those people who fought on their side. And many of these people went to Canada, to Nova Scotia, and there's still Black communities in Nova Scotia, Canada, where those descendants reside. And he said 1,000 families are established in one settlement with 10 acres of land granted by the Crown. From this nursery are hereafter to be drawn recruits to invade the southern states, to entice and seduce other Blacks to desert or rebel against their masters and the nation. And Adams he's been damned with faint praise for not being a slaveholder himself. But when we look at these other statements, as these other beliefs that he had, we can see why chattel slavery lasted for as long as it did. We can see why it was accommodated by Northerners. And even after he left office, his opinions didn't change any. And he said if there was emancipation, that shiftless black people would die from want, and ask their old masters to care for them. He was opposed to Missouri being admitted as a slave state. That was the Missouri Compromise of the 1820s. But he didn't want to say so publicly because he didn't want to damage his son, John Quincy Adams' political career. And he said as much in a letter to his friend, "I hope you will not publish my letter." That is to say, stating that he was opposed to Missouri entering the Union as a slave state. But so these are just a few things. It's one of the shorter chapters in the book, but it tells you not just about John Adams, but about American history, about why chattel slavery ended as long as it did, and these very terrible accommodations that were made by the South, made to the South throughout American history. So that's our John Adams reading by the book, Prejudential, Black America and the Presidents. And if you look below the video, you will see links where you can purchase the book directly from the publisher, Steerforth Press, from Barnes & Noble, from Amazon, from your independent bookseller, Audible, the audio book, which is narrated by me. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you soon as we discuss Thomas Jefferson. He comes up next. Thank you.